Good evening, everyone. It is Wednesday, April the 14th, 2021. It is currently 5:44 p.m. Central Time, and welcome to the Theology Central podcast. I completely forgot to play our introduction. So let me play the introduction. All right. So just forget everything I just said, because hey, it's our professional introduction, and a podcast isn't a podcast unless we have something like this.
Looking at our world from a theological perspective. This is the Theology Central podcast, making theology central.
There we go. Now we're professional. Now, welcome everyone. Really, thank you for tuning in. Yes, we have got our professional intro back. It kind of just magically disappeared. The way it worked in the past is it just automatically played whenever you listen to us on the Spreaker app. It was just automatically there, and it just disappeared. So we had to get it back. And now if we want it to appear, we have to play it when I go live on the air, and I always forget to do that. Well, I can't say I always forget to do that, because we just started doing that today, but I've already forgotten it this quick into this new way of doing things. So I can't say I always forget to do it, but I've already done it this early into it. I think this is the third podcast, and I've already forgotten. So I'll probably will forget. I'm still waiting for feedback from all of the listeners. Does it even matter? Do you even care? How important is it? If you're on a podcast app and you listen to a podcast and they don't have a professional intro, do you immediately stop and discard it and say, I'm not listening to that? Like I still don't know how important it is, but there it is. But I'm wasting time. I don't have a lot of time, because I'm currently here at Victory Baptist Church. I'm currently here in the sanctuary of Victory Baptist Church. We're at 7 p.m. tonight, and there will be people here, and we'll have our live in-person service. But I'm all the way here in Victory Baptist Church in Ovalo. My wife is sitting at home in Abilene, so that means here in a minute I got to leave here to go there to get her, to bring her back here, and to have church, that we can drive back there. Okay. So, and I've already been here. This is the second time. So I'm spending a lot of time driving today. But since I do not have a lot of time, I thought that I needed to I wanted to get one more live broadcast in this evening. And so I saw sitting here The Imitation of Christ by Thomas A. Kempis. And then I looked on the Spreaker app and I realized, wait a minute. I haven't done an episode on The Imitation of Christ in a long time. What am I doing? So I want to at least get back and tell you I haven't forgotten. We are going to finish this series no matter how long it takes. We are going to finish this series. So if you have a copy of The Imitation of Christ by Thomas A. Kempis, by all means, open it up. Book 1, Chapter 22. Now, the copy that I have is the book that I have the copy that I purchased in the early 1990s, and it is literally falling apart. I'm afraid that the pages are going to fall out during this episode, but I don't want to stop using it. I want to use this copy all the way to the end of this series, and then by that point, it's going to just fall completely apart, but at least the book had a good run, okay? I spent a lot of time with the book, and hopefully my time in the book is benefiting you as well, all right? Now, remember, a couple of things. If you want to keep up with all the books that I'm suggesting, all the books that we're reading, please join the Theology Central Book Club. It's absolutely free. You don't have to buy anything. We're not asking for money. It's very simple. If you go to theologycentral.net, go to the blog section, you may have to go to the second page, but you'll find the blog entry for the Theology Central Book Club. There's a link right there. We'll take you right to the book club. You join, it's free, and you'll get a notification every time I add a book. And there I'm dropping books on the floor in the middle of trying to talk. You will get a notification every time I add a book. I add books that I may agree with. I add books that I may disagree with, but I add books that I think would be very important for you to read, very interesting, very beneficial. And so by all means, join the Theology Central Book Club. Any of the book in the suggested column at any point could become the currently reading book, the book that we're currently working on. They only allow you to add the one currently reading book, which is very unfortunate since we're currently working on two, The Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis and The Christian in Complete Armor. We are working on both. But let's get to chapter 22, book 1, The Imitation of Christ, Thomas à Kempis. We come to a very pleasant chapter. No, I'm joking. It's not very pleasant. The title of this chapter is Human Misery. Human misery. Now, that is something that's not pleasant to discuss, but it's a reality in the fallen world in which we live. There is human misery. There is pain. There is suffering. There is death. There is tragedy. There is injustice. There is wrong, there's prejudice, there's racism, there's discrimination, there's bullying. I mean, there's violence, there's sexual assault, there's child molestation. We live in a horrible, horrible, horrible fallen world. And as a result of living in a horrible fallen world, there is human misery. So let's see what Thomas à Kempis had to say in regards to this subject. And then, of course, remember, Thomas à Kempis is writing from a Catholic perspective as a Catholic monk. So we don't in any way, shape, or form believe that everything he says was authoritative, but we're listening to his perspective, and then we're considering it in light of Scripture, and it's just getting us to think about it. The whole reason we started this book was during the pandemic, when there was all kinds of noise and everyone yelling and complaining and arguing about everything. I'm like, how about just turn off all of that and set your mind on a classic book in church history that has influenced people from all theological backgrounds, Catholic and non-Catholic alike. In fact, in some circles, in some ways, I believe that Thomas à Kempis's book, The Imitation of Christ, has had more of an influence in the Protestant world than in the Catholic world. And I don't know if I can verify that, but I've definitely met more Protestants who've read it than Catholics. I can definitely say that. So let's jump in. Let's see how far we can get, because I will have to leave shortly to go home and get my wife. All right, here we go. Chapter 22, Book 1, Imitation of Christ, Thomas à Kempis. Human misery. Miserable you are wherever you be, or whether you turn, unless you turn to God. That's a pretty bold statement. You are miserable. You will be miserable wherever you are and wherever you turn. No matter which way you turn, no matter wherever you may be, no matter which way you turn, you're going to be miserable unless you turn to God. That is a major claim. Now, I don't know if that can be 100% proven, because I think there's a lot of non-Christians who don't appear to be miserable, but maybe they are miserable deep down, or maybe they cover up their misery with every kind of thing they can find. But deep down, the reality is they are miserable, right? But I've seen a lot of Christians who look very miserable. So I don't know, but that's a big claim, right? So let's continue. Why are you troubled when things succeed not as you desire? Who is he who has all things according to his mind? So why do you get so troubled? Why do you get so upset? Why do you get so bothered when things do not succeed as you desire? Why? Who are you? Who is the person that everything works according to the way they want? Who are you? Why do you expect everything to work the way you want it to work? Why do you get so upset when it doesn't? Who do you think you are? We live in a fallen world, and things don't always work out the way you want them to work. But why do you think they should? I mean, that's a question. Do you operate from this perspective? Things should work out the way I want them to work. And if they don't, I'm going to get upset. The level of frustration and anger, the level of how upset you become when things don't work out the way you want them to, demonstrates to the level that you think everything should. Now, I've got to just be honest with you. I don't do well in this category here, okay? So here I'm preaching to myself. I have a tendency, here's the way I want my day to work, all right? Here's what I want to know. Before I go to bed, all right, if I even go to bed, whenever I decide to go to sleep, because I hate sleep, we won't even get into that. But here's what I want to know. Before the clock hits 12 a.m., I want a complete and detailed schedule of how every second of that new day is going to work out. I want to know what time people are going to wake up. I want to know what time I'm eating breakfast. I want to know what time I'm going to listen to music. I want to know what time I'm going to watch television. I want to know what time I'm going to read. I want to know what time I'm coming to the church. I want to know what everyone is doing. I want to know everything and nothing. And I tell you, nothing better disrupt that schedule, because nothing should ever disrupt that schedule. And when it doesn't go the way I want it to go, I get irritated, and you may even hear me make that sound, okay? I do get frustrated. Or you'll see me walking. I don't know if you can hear this. I start rubbing the back of my head. I just start grabbing the hair of the back of my head and just start, and I get irritated. Now, I try. I think I've grown much better to try to maintain that frustration on the inside, but I want things to work a certain way. Now, why? Why do I think that way? Let me tell you why. Because we are the God that we think everything else is there to serve and obey. Look, like it or not, the greatest form of false religion is the religion of self-worship, which you are a dedicated follower of, and so am I. We think that we are more important. We want everything to work our way. We want everything to go our way. We think we are God. We say that we never say those words, but we think we are God. We act like we are God. And when things don't go our way, we get irritated. And then that irritation can lead to conflict with people at work, family, church, wherever. So I think that's a good question. Why are you troubled when things succeed not as you desire? Who is he who has all things according to his mind? Neither I, nor you, nor any man upon earth. Why do you get so upset? Now, I know that now this is just complete speculation here, okay? What I'm going to say here, there is no evidence in history that I know of. I have no proof of this, but I can almost imagine. Remember, Thomas à Kempis, I was going to say William Gurnall, he wrote The Christian in Complete Armor. We're in the Imitation of Christ. I get the two books confused, okay? This is very important. I cannot prove what I'm about to say, but I can almost picture this. So this is pure, just complete, meaningless speculation, but I picture Thomas à Kempis in the monastery, and there's been a lot of complaining and people getting upset because things haven't gone the way they wanted it to go. And Thomas à Kempis is writing in his room there in the monastery. He spent a lot of time in that room writing, and because this was written while he was there. I think it was primarily for the monks in the monastery. I think he was probably like, why do you get so upset? Did you think everything was going to work out? Is there anyone on earth that it works out for? Not you, not me, nor anyone. So stop getting upset. It's almost like a parent writing this. Why are the kids getting upset when things don't work the way they want to? Nothing works out for anyone. But then, of course, that's true of all of us. So that's pretty powerful. Neither I nor you nor any man upon the earth. There is none in this world, even though he be king or pope, without some tribulation or perplexity. There is no person on this earth where they're not going to experience some tribulation, something that perplexes us, something that doesn't make any sense to us. So why do we constantly expect that it will? And again, how upset you get is the indicator to the level that you think everything should work out the way you want to. I think everything should work out the way I want to. Why shouldn't it? Right? Okay, come on. You think the same way? Who is he who has the better lot? Assuredly, he who is able to suffer something for God. So the person who has the better lot, the person who's in the better situation, is the person who is able to suffer something for God. In other words, if I'm suffering something not going my way, I'm suffering some perplexity, I'm suffering some tribulation, if I suffer it for God, I suffer this and say, God, use this for your glory, my sanctification, and I welcome it as an opportunity to suffer, in a sense, for God, that God uses it. That's better off than avoiding all trial, all tribulation, and all perplexity. Now, of course, it's easy for me to say that. I don't know if I actually ever mean that. And the same is probably true for you. Next paragraph. Many weak and unstable persons say, behold, what a happy life that man leads, how wealthy, how great he is, how powerful and exalted. But look to the riches of heaven, and you shall see that these temporal things are nothing, but are very uncertain and rather burdensome than otherwise, because they are never possessed without anxiety and fear. Man's happiness consists not in having abundance of temporal goods, but a moderate portion is sufficient to him. All right, so let's go through this. He says weak people. I'm assuming spiritually weak people, people who are spiritually unstable. That's how he identifies them. Basically, weak people and unstable people. Spiritually weak and unstable people. They're the people who say something like this. Behold, look at that man over there. Look how happy he must be. Look at how wonderful. Look at everything they have. Look at how wealthy he is. Look at how great he is. Look at how powerful and exalted he is. Now, listen, a lot of people do this on social media. They will go through social media and look at everyone else's Facebook account, everyone else's Instagram account, and go, look at their life. Look at how happy their family appears to be. Look at that house. Look at that car. Look at where they are on vacation. Look at how wonderful it all must be. Look at how pretty she is. Look at how handsome he is. I wish I looked like him. I wish I don't look like, I wish I looked like her. A female saying, I wish I looked like her, or I wish I had him for a husband, or I wish I had her for a wife, whatever. We look at everyone else and we think, look at how great everything must be for them. And then we almost start coveting. Or even we don't start coveting, it makes us question, well, where am I in my life? I wish I had all of that. And we become discontented. And he says, look to the riches of heaven. Don't look at all of that. Look to the riches of heaven, right? And you shall see that these temporal things are nothing. The only way for the riches of this world to become nothing to you is you must be more aware of the riches of heaven than you are the riches of this life. And let me tell you, I'm not good at this. Look, I'm not saying I don't believe that I'm extremely greedy. I don't want to say there's no greed in me because everyone has greed, but I can tell you this. I have spent a lot of time thinking of what it would be like to be rich, where I could just go to the store and literally pretty much get whatever I want. If I'm on Amazon and I want something, I can basically get it. If I wanted a new car, I could buy it. If I wanted to pay someone to come fix some things in my house, I could do. There's things in my house I would like repaired. We don't have the money to repair it. We don't have the money to repair it. I wish I just had that money. I wish I had. There's stereo equipment that I have wanted for basically my whole life that I'm never going to get. I'm never going to get the stereo equipment that I've always wanted. I'm going to die before I get it. And if I do find a way to get it, I'll be 87 if I live that long and be dead probably the next day. There's now cars I don't really care about. There are TVs that I want that I'm never going to get. There's so many things that I've wanted that I'm never going to get. And you know how easy that time. Now I usually get a little frustrated, but I'm usually really good at just going back going, no, that's the TV I have. That's the stereo equipment I have. I'm going to take care of it. And I'm going to use it. I'm going to make the most out of it. And I'm going to be grateful for it. I usually go back to having that way of thinking. Not always. But you know what? One thing I really don't do very much of, sometimes I don't stop and say, wait a minute. Stop looking at all of this. Let's look at the riches of heaven. If I look to the riches of heaven, all of this becomes nothing. I would say this, not only do I look to the riches of heaven, I know Thomas à Kempis doesn't say this, I need to remind myself that in Christ Jesus, I have all spiritual blessings right now. I need to not only look at the riches of heaven, I need to look at the riches of God's grace and blessings that I have right now. All of those other things become nothing. But you know what we do? We are not content with the things of God. So the things of the world become that much more enticing. A lack of contentment with the riches of heaven and with the blessings of God now creates in us a covetous attitude and a discontented attitude with the things of God. He says, look, if you don't want to be sitting there looking at all the, thinking everyone things are wonderful, if you'll look to the riches of heaven, you shall see that these temporal things are nothing. But listen, these temporal things, if we really look at them, they're very uncertain. They're very uncertain. First, things break down. At any point, you can go from rich to poor based off the way things happen economically. So they're uncertain. They're burdensome. All right, there's a lot of burden that comes with having more and more things, more and more things, more and more bills. There's a burden that comes with it. They are never possessed without anxiety. The more you have, the more anxious you are about losing it. And they say anxiety and fear. Men's happiness consists not in having abundance of temporal goods, but a moderate portion is sufficient to him. Now, my translation here of Thomas à Kempis just makes a scriptural reference here. Let me look at it. Now, sometimes I'm always afraid to quote them because you go look at them and you're like, wait a minute, what is that talking about? So before I even tell you what it is, let me turn here and look. All right, Proverbs chapter 19, verse 1. I'm sorry, I'm sitting there not saying a word. That may work when you're standing behind the pulpit and everyone's looking at you. That doesn't work when it's an audio podcast. It's just sometimes I forget those little basic rules, all right? So, Proverbs 19:1. Better is the poor that walketh in his integrity than he that is perverse in his lips and is a fool. All right, so it's not a great cross-reference, but I get the idea. So let me read this to you again. Man's happiness consists not in having abundance of temporal goods, but a moderate portion is sufficient for him. How much of your happiness, how much of your contentment is based on what you own, what you have, what you can do, where you can go, your health, your house, your car? Now you're going to say, no, none of it's based off that. None of it's based off that. Oh, it's so easy to say that until you start losing all of it. And then when you start hearing that grumbling and complaining, clearly your happiness was based off that. Where is your happiness found? Where is your level of contentment? Now, see, when we start talking about things, we can convince ourselves that we're doing really well. But here's the key. Here's how you test yourself. How do you handle when things don't go your way? When you have a frustrating day and you're irritated and you're bothered, do you skip church? Hey, Lord, I know you tell me to go to church, but I've had a bad day and I'm irritated and I'm frustrated, so I'm not going to go. Well, wait, why not? To the level you allow those things to bother you and to disrupt your spiritual life and your obedience to God clearly demonstrates that you have a mentality that it's all about you, which leads to you want more and more stuff and that your happiness is actually more and more connected to it than you even want to acknowledge. Look, I know everyone knows my happiness is not found in things. It's only found in Christ Jesus. Look, I know you know the church answer. Congratulations. We all know the church answer, but the church answer doesn't mean anything until it's put into practice. See, it's easy for you to sit there having all of those things saying, none of these things matter to me, but you don't know that until you, Thomas à Kempis and many of the other gave up everything to go live in a monastery where their whole life was married to Christ and his church. And their day-to-day life was prayer, reading, worship, prayer, reading, study, worship, with a little bit of work and maybe a little time to go walk and talk to someone. That's their life, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they didn't own anything. Yeah, see, it's one thing to do that. It's another thing to have everything going, but my happiness is not found in it. I'm telling you, my happiness is not found in it. You have to ask yourself. I'm just going to stop right there. All right? But there's plenty there to meditate on. I could ask you some questions, but I'm just going to stop right there, all right? Okay, we're just going to stop right there. Page 48 in my copy. All right. Let me know what you think. Email me about this entire series on the Imitation of Christ. I know we have at least one listener who's very happy with the series, who's been very thankful for the series, has encouraged me to keep going. That listener is one of the reasons I keep going, so thank you so much to him. He knows who he is. I think there's been some others who've given some encouraging words about the Imitation of Christ series. Whoever you are, to every person who has emailed me encouraging words about it, thank you so very much. I greatly appreciate it. All right, I'm going to stop right there. I got to get ready to drive back to my house. All right, everyone have a great evening. We should be back on the air around 7. VBC Bible Institute tonight is dedicated to Lot. Yeah, it should be fun. All right, so tune in and we'll see where that goes. All right, everyone have a great evening. God bless.